There are moments in life that seem ordinary on the surface, yet they quietly become the turning point between the person you were and the person you are becoming. Perhaps this is one of those moments. You did not arrive here by accident. Every decision, every disappointment, every hope that refused to die has brought you to this exact point. For a few moments, allow yourself to step away from every limitation you have accepted as truth. Forget what the world has told you is possible. Forget how long something has taken. Forget the opinions of people who measured your future using the ruler of their own fears. There is another way to look at life, and once you begin to see it, nothing will ever appear the same again. Every extraordinary achievement first existed as an invisible idea. Every remarkable change began in the quiet space of someone's imagination before it became visible in reality. The visible world is always following the invisible one. That is a principle worth remembering, because it means your future is not being created by your circumstances today. It is being created by the thoughts you repeatedly accept as true. Think about how many people spend years waiting for the perfect opportunity. They wait for luck to arrive. They wait for someone to notice them. They wait for the right season, the right economy, the right connection, the right moment. Yet the most successful individuals rarely wait. They prepare. They become the kind of person who naturally recognizes opportunities that everyone else overlooks. What appears to others as luck is often the result of an invisible preparation that no one ever sees. Fortune seems mysterious only because most people never witness the years of quiet mental discipline that came before it. Now imagine something different. Imagine waking tomorrow with complete certainty that your life is already moving toward extraordinary possibilities. Notice how differently you would think. Notice how differently you would speak. Your posture would change. Your energy would change. Your decisions would change. You would no longer act like someone desperately chasing a distant future. You would behave like someone calmly expecting wonderful things because they know they are inevitable. This quiet confidence becomes magnetic. People notice it. Opportunities respond to it. Your own mind begins searching for evidence to support it. Most people misunderstand the role of chance. They believe chance is random, disconnected from who they are. But your perception determines what you notice. Two people can walk through the same day, meet the same individuals, receive the same information, and experience entirely different lives. One sees obstacles. The other sees possibilities. One notices reasons to quit. The other notices reasons to continue. Reality has not changed. Their attention has. Every day your mind is filtering millions of pieces of information. It cannot consciously process everything, so it searches for patterns that match your dominant beliefs. If you repeatedly tell yourself that nothing ever works out, your mind becomes remarkably efficient at proving you right. It highlights disappointments, ignores blessings, and strengthens the belief even more. But if you begin expecting opportunities, your mind starts recognizing possibilities that were always present. They did not suddenly appear. You simply became capable of seeing them. There is tremendous power in expectation. Farmers do not plant seeds wondering whether nature might decide to work this year. They plant because they understand the principle of harvest. They prepare the soil because they expect growth. They water because they expect life. They continue caring for what cannot yet be seen because they trust the process. Imagine applying that same certainty to your own future. Imagine nurturing your dreams with patient consistency instead of digging them up every few days to check whether they are growing. The greatest transformations rarely announce themselves with fireworks. They begin quietly. They begin with one decision, one belief, one refusal to surrender. A person changes internally long before the world notices anything externally. That unseen transformation eventually becomes impossible to hide because every action, begins reflecting a new identity. There is a remarkable difference between wishing and expecting. Wishing says, I hope someday. Expecting says, I am preparing because it is coming. Hope alone is passive. Expectation creates movement. When you expect improvement, you naturally begin making decisions consistent with that expectation. You study differently. You save differently. You speak differently. You treat people differently. Your future starts influencing your present instead of your past controlling it. Many people become trapped by memories of failure. They replay yesterday's disappointments until those memories become predictions about tomorrow. Yet the future owes no loyalty to your past. Yesterday may explain where you are, but it does not decide where you are going. Every sunrise quietly announces another opportunity to choose new thoughts, new habits, and new actions. Your imagination is one of the greatest gifts you possess. Unfortunately, many people use it against themselves. They imagine everything that could go wrong. They rehearse failure before taking action. They visualize embarrassment before speaking. They create detailed pictures of disappointment, then wonder why confidence disappears. Imagine reversing that habit. Imagine using the same creative power to picture success, progress, abundance, meaningful opportunities, and joyful surprises. The imagination responds equally well to whichever images you repeatedly provide. Confidence is not the absence of uncertainty. Confidence is the decision to continue despite uncertainty. No remarkable achievement has ever required perfect conditions. Every successful person eventually reached a moment where they stepped forward before having every answer. They trusted growth more than comfort. Comfort is attractive because it asks nothing of you. Growth demands effort, patience, and persistence. Yet every meaningful reward lives just beyond the border of familiarity. If your daily routine never challenges your thinking, your future will likely resemble your past. Expansion requires new perspectives, new habits, and new standards. Standards quietly shape destiny. People often focus on goals while ignoring the standards that determine whether those goals are ever reached. Goals inspire, standards sustain. A person who consistently raises their standards inevitably changes the quality of their life, because they begin accepting less from fear and expecting more from themselves. There are invisible conversations happening inside every person. Those conversations become beliefs. Beliefs become decisions. Decisions become habits. Habits become character. Character shapes destiny. The remarkable truth is that this entire chain begins with thoughts that no one else can hear. Your private dialogue is creating your public future. Consider how different life becomes when gratitude becomes a daily habit instead of an occasional reaction. Gratitude does not ignore challenges. It simply refuses to let challenges become the entire story. A grateful mind notices resources where others notice scarcity. It appreciates progress while continuing to pursue improvement. Abundance begins internally before it appears externally. People often search for evidence before believing, yet many of life's greatest experiences require belief before evidence appears. Faith is not pretending difficulties do not exist. Faith is deciding that possibilities deserve greater attention than limitations. Every successful journey contains periods where visible results seem absent. These moments test commitment. Anyone can remain enthusiastic when progress is obvious. The true test comes when effort continues without immediate reward. Persistence separates temporary interest from lasting achievement. The person you become is always more valuable than the result you receive. Results may come and go, but the discipline, wisdom, confidence, resilience, and character developed during the journey remain with you forever. Once you possess those qualities, New opportunities naturally follow because you have become capable of recognizing and sustaining them. There is enormous strength in calm certainty. The world often encourages noise, urgency, and constant comparison, yet lasting confidence usually grows in quiet places. It grows through consistent action, repeated long enough to become identity. Identity is powerful because people naturally behave according to who they believe they are. Begin seeing yourself as someone who welcomes opportunity. See yourself as someone who remains optimistic without becoming unrealistic. See yourself as someone who continues learning regardless of temporary setbacks. Identity quietly influences every decision without requiring constant effort. Every morning offers an invitation to begin again. Yesterday's mistakes need not become today's identity. Every breath reminds you that life continues, providing new moments in which different choices can be made. The future remains wonderfully unwritten. The remarkable thing about possibility is that it rarely arrives wearing a dramatic costume. It often appears disguised as a simple idea, a conversation, a book, a phone call, a new skill, or the courage to take one small step that others overlook. Those who remain mentally prepared recognize significance where others see ordinary events, and that single recognition can quietly redirect the entire course of a life. Every lasting achievement begins long before anyone else can see it. The world celebrates visible victories, yet it rarely applauds the invisible discipline that made those victories possible. There are countless mornings when successful people wake before anyone is watching. They continue learning when no one is asking them to. They continue believing when there is no applause. They continue preparing while everyone else assumes nothing is happening. This unseen investment becomes the foundation upon which extraordinary results are built. When the day finally comes that others call them fortunate, they smile quietly because they remember the countless ordinary days that prepared them for what now appears to be an overnight success. Imagine walking through each day with the quiet expectation that something meaningful is always unfolding behind the scenes. Instead of asking, "Why hasn't anything happened yet?" you begin asking, "What is being arranged that I cannot see?" This simple shift changes your emotional state. Frustration gives way to curiosity. Anxiety gives way to confidence. Doubt gives way to patience. The future begins to feel less like an uncertain mystery and more like a destination that you are steadily approaching with every thoughtful decision you make. Too many people measure progress only by visible evidence. They plant a seed and expect fruit the next morning. They begin learning a new skill and expect mastery within days. They make one positive change and expect an entirely different life immediately. Nature does not work this way. Every worthwhile process requires unseen development before visible transformation appears. The strongest trees spend years building roots before they tower toward the sky. The deepest rivers begin as tiny streams. The brightest sunrise begins while the world is still wrapped in darkness. Your own progress follows the same timeless principle. The greatest mistake people make is assuming that silence means nothing is happening. Silence often means everything important is taking place beneath the surface. Think about a craftsman carefully shaping a masterpiece. Every precise movement matters even before the final work is revealed. Think about an architect studying blueprints long before construction begins. Think about an athlete practicing fundamentals for thousands of hours before stepping onto the biggest stage. Invisible preparation always comes before visible excellence. Your thoughts deserve the same level of care. Every repeated thought becomes familiar. Every familiar thought becomes believable. Every believable thought begins influencing your decisions without requiring conscious effort. If your mind repeatedly rehearses confidence, gratitude, opportunity, resilience, and abundance, those qualities gradually become your natural response to life. You no longer force yourself to think positively because your thinking has been trained through consistent repetition. There is tremendous value in guarding your attention. Wherever attention goes, energy follows. If your attention remains fixed on fear, fear grows stronger. If your attention remains fixed on possibility, possibility becomes more noticeable. The world contains both encouragement and discouragement every single day. It contains reasons to quit and reasons to continue. Your attention determines which reality becomes dominant in your experience. Have you ever noticed how one encouraging conversation can completely transform your day? Nothing outside may have changed. Your responsibilities remain the same. Your environment remains the same. Yet one new idea suddenly changes how you interpret everything around you. This is the remarkable power of perspective. Circumstances often matter less than the meaning you assign to them. Successful individuals become students of perspective. They understand that every challenge contains lessons hidden beneath discomfort. Every setback carries information that can become valuable if approached with curiosity instead of resentment. They ask different questions. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What is this experience preparing me to become?" That single question transforms obstacles into teachers. There is an old truth that remains as powerful today as it has ever been. You move toward whatever consistently occupies your mind. The destination of your life is not determined by occasional inspiration, but by repeated concentration. A person who continually studies solutions eventually becomes skilled at solving problems. A person who continually studies limitations becomes skilled at finding excuses. The mind faithfully develops whatever receives the greatest amount of attention. This is why daily mental habits matter so profoundly. Just as physical health depends upon what you repeatedly consume, mental strength depends upon what you repeatedly allow into your thinking. Every book you read, every conversation you engage in, every idea you entertain is quietly shaping tomorrow's decisions. Whether you realize it or not, your environment is constantly influencing your expectations. Choose carefully what deserves a permanent place in your thoughts. There are voices that encourage possibility, and there are voices that predict failure. There are people who inspire growth, and there are people who unconsciously reinforce fear, because they have accepted limitations as permanent truths. Listen respectfully to everyone, but allow only wisdom to become part of your belief system. One remarkable quality shared by extraordinary achievers is that they refuse to borrow discouragement from other people. They understand that someone else's lack of belief does not reduce their own potential. They remain respectful without becoming dependent upon external approval. They recognize that history has repeatedly been shaped by individuals who believed in possibilities long before those possibilities became obvious to everyone else. Every meaningful goal requires the courage to temporarily stand apart from popular opinion. There will always be people who explain why something cannot be done. They may present convincing arguments supported by statistics, past experiences, or conventional wisdom. Yet every major breakthrough in human history first appeared unreasonable. If progress depended entirely upon public agreement, innovation would rarely exist. Your responsibility is not to convince everyone else. Your responsibility is to remain faithful to the highest vision you can honestly imagine for your own life. Conviction creates consistency. Consistency creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence, because each small success reminds you that forward movement is possible. Momentum is one of life's most valuable forces. It begins quietly, with simple actions, repeated consistently. One healthy decision encourages another. One courageous conversation makes the next conversation easier. One disciplined morning improves the following morning. Progress compounds just as neglect compounds. Small choices rarely remain small because they gradually establish direction. Direction matters more than speed. Many people become discouraged because they compare their chapter 1 with someone else's thousands. Chapter 20. They fail to recognize that every accomplished person once stood exactly where they now stand. Every expert was once inexperienced. Every confident leader once questioned themselves. Every successful entrepreneur once wondered whether their efforts would ever produce meaningful results. Growth is not a race against other people. It is a steady commitment to becoming slightly wiser than you were yesterday. Imagine the incredible possibilities that become available once comparison loses its influence over your thinking. Instead of competing with someone else's timeline, you become fully engaged in your own development. Every lesson becomes valuable. Every improvement becomes meaningful. Every day becomes another opportunity to strengthen qualities that no circumstance can permanently take away. There is extraordinary peace in trusting gradual progress. A river does not become powerful because of one drop of water. It becomes powerful because countless drops continue flowing in the same direction. Great fortunes are often built through steady decisions rather than dramatic events. Lasting reputations are built through consistent character rather than occasional brilliance. Extraordinary lives are built through ordinary actions repeated with uncommon commitment. You possess far more potential than your current results can reveal. Results always lag behind growth. A person may become wiser long before financial success reflects that wisdom. They may become more disciplined long before others notice the change. They may become emotionally stronger while their external circumstances still appear unchanged. Never mistake delayed evidence for absent progress. There are seasons in life when your greatest responsibility is simply to continue. Continue learning even when results seem slow. Continue improving even when recognition is absent. Continue expecting meaningful opportunities even when circumstances temporarily appear ordinary. Those who remain consistent eventually discover that persistence quietly opens doors that force alone could never unlock. Many opportunities arrive disguised as responsibilities. They require effort before they provide reward. They require commitment before they reveal significance. The individual who approaches each responsibility with excellence unknowingly prepares themselves for larger opportunities that demand the same qualities. Excellence is never wasted, because character developed in one area naturally strengthens every other area of life. Think for a moment about the extraordinary ability of the human mind to adapt. Skills that once seemed impossible eventually become natural through repetition. Confidence that once seemed unreachable gradually becomes familiar through experience. Habits that once required tremendous effort eventually become automatic. This means the person you are becoming is always influenced by what you repeatedly practice. Today, if you consistently practice courage, courage grows. If you consistently practice gratitude, gratitude deepens. If you consistently practice focused thinking, your ability to recognize valuable opportunities expands with remarkable precision. Most people underestimate how dramatically 1 year of intentional thinking can transform an entire lifetime. They imagine change as something sudden, when in reality it usually unfolds quietly through thousands of small moments that appear insignificant until viewed together. One encouraging book, one meaningful conversation, one disciplined morning, one thoughtful decision, one act of persistence. Individually they seem ordinary. Collectively, they become extraordinary, because they gradually reshape identity from the inside out. Identity is the quiet architect of every decision you make. Long before a person experiences visible success, they begin to see themselves differently. They stop introducing themselves to the world through their limitations and begin defining themselves through their possibilities. Instead of saying, "I hope things get better," they begin thinking, "I am becoming someone who creates better outcomes." That subtle difference changes everything. Your mind constantly seeks consistency between what you believe about yourself and the actions you take. When your identity expands, your behavior naturally begins catching up with it. There is remarkable power in becoming emotionally familiar with success before it physically arrives. Many people wait for external circumstances to give them confidence. They tell themselves they will feel secure after the breakthrough, after the opportunity, after the financial increase, after recognition appears. Yet confidence built solely upon circumstances rises and falls with circumstances. Lasting confidence is built from within. It is developed by repeatedly choosing empowering thoughts until they become more believable than fear itself. Consider how an experienced captain navigates through heavy fog. He does not panic because visibility has temporarily disappeared. He trusts the compass more than immediate appearances. Likewise, your deepest principles must become your compass. Temporary uncertainty does not mean you are moving in the wrong direction. Sometimes the clearest progress is taking place during seasons when your eyes cannot yet confirm what your heart has already accepted. Every great accomplishment has passed through a period where only one person believed it was possible. That belief became the fuel that sustained consistent action. Others saw uncertainty. The visionary saw potential. Others focused on obstacles. The visionary focused on solutions. Eventually, reality caught up with conviction. What was once dismissed as unrealistic became accepted as obvious. History repeats this pattern over and over because progress always begins inside the calm imagination before it appears in the material world. Your imagination is not merely entertainment, it is rehearsal. Athletes mentally rehearse victories before competitions. Musicians hear the performance in their minds before stepping onto the stage. Architects visualize completed buildings before laying the first stone. Every meaningful creation exists twice, first in thought, then in reality. Therefore, the pictures you consistently hold within your mind deserve your greatest attention. Imagine yourself moving through life with complete certainty that opportunities are continually seeking prepared people. Instead of asking whether opportunities exist, ask whether you are becoming prepared to recognize them. Preparation sharpens perception. As your knowledge grows, you notice possibilities that previously escaped your attention. As your confidence grows, you recognize doors that fear once concealed. As your discipline grows, responsibilities that once seemed overwhelming become manageable. One of the greatest habits you can develop is refusing to let temporary emotions become permanent conclusions. Everyone experiences discouragement. Everyone encounters disappointment. Everyone faces moments where progress seems painfully slow. The difference lies in interpretation. One person treats difficulty as proof they should stop. Another treats the same difficulty as proof they are growing stronger. Circumstances may be identical, yet outcomes become completely different because meaning determines momentum. Never underestimate the quiet influence of consistency. A single day rarely changes a life, but thousands of consistent days certainly do. Excellence is rarely dramatic. It usually appears ordinary while it is happening. Reading a few pages each day seems insignificant until years have passed. Saving a little consistently appears modest until remarkable growth has accumulated. Speaking encouraging words each morning seems simple, until confidence becomes your natural language. Greatness is often disguised as ordinary discipline, practiced without interruption. Your future is constantly being negotiated by today's decisions. Every decision casts a vote for the person you are becoming. Choosing learning over distraction strengthens wisdom. Choosing courage over comfort strengthens confidence. Choosing persistence over excuses strengthens resilience. These choices may seem small in isolation, but they accumulate into an entirely different life, because habits possess extraordinary compounding power. Think about water flowing through a canyon. It appears gentle, almost effortless. Yet, over many years, it reshaped solid rock, not through force, but through consistency. Your thoughts operate much the same way. Repeated often enough, they carve deep pathways within your mind. Those pathways eventually become your automatic responses. This is why repeated encouragement is never wasted. Every positive thought strengthens a new direction. Every constructive belief weakens an old limitation. Many people spend years searching for dramatic secrets while overlooking simple principles. They believe success must involve complicated formulas, hidden knowledge, or extraordinary circumstances. Yet lasting achievement almost always rests upon timeless fundamentals: clear thinking, honest effort, continuous learning, patience, integrity, gratitude. These qualities never lose their effectiveness because they are woven into the very fabric of meaningful progress. Imagine if each morning you reminded yourself that today contains possibilities no one else has yet discovered. Somewhere a conversation is waiting to inspire you. Somewhere a lesson is waiting to strengthen you. Somewhere an opportunity is quietly moving towards someone prepared to recognize it. That expectation transforms ordinary days into adventures of awareness. You stop rushing through life and begin noticing details that others overlook. There is a profound difference between living reactively and living intentionally. Reactive living allows circumstances to determine attitude. Intentional living allows purpose to determine attitude. One person waits for good news before becoming optimistic. Another chooses optimism first and therefore notices more good news. The world often responds differently to those who approach it with confidence, curiosity, and gratitude, because those qualities influence every interaction they have. When your standards rise, your entire environment begins changing. You become less willing to waste precious hours on habits that offer no lasting value. You become more selective about the information you consume. You seek conversations that challenge your thinking instead of reinforcing mediocrity. You invest your time where growth is most likely to occur. Standards quietly reshape destiny because they influence countless decisions that appear too small to matter, yet collectively determine the direction of an entire life. Every meaningful journey requires seasons of patience. Seeds do not apologize for growing slowly. They simply continue developing beneath the surface until the time is right. Likewise, never become discouraged because visible evidence has not yet matched invisible progress. Character is developing. Wisdom is deepening. Perspective is expanding. These qualities may not immediately appear on the surface, but they are preparing you for responsibilities that require far greater strength than you possessed before. There is wisdom in celebrating small victories. Every improvement deserves recognition because improvement creates momentum. Waiting until the final destination before appreciating progress often leads to unnecessary and discouragement. Acknowledge every lesson learned. Appreciate every fear overcome. Value every disciplined choice. Success is not one enormous event. It is thousands of meaningful moments connected by persistence. Imagine looking back years from now and realizing that the turning point was not one dramatic breakthrough, but one decision to think differently. One decision to guard your attention. One decision to refuse discouragement. One decision to continue preparing despite uncertainty. Those quiet moments often become the foundation upon which extraordinary futures are built. Every person possesses unseen potential, waiting for consistent expression. Potential alone changes nothing. It must be developed through action. Knowledge alone changes nothing. It must be applied with discipline. Inspiration alone changes nothing. It must become daily practice. The bridge between possibility and reality is built one thoughtful action at a time. As you continue strengthening your inner world, your outer experiences gradually begin reflecting those changes. Your conversations become more encouraging. Your decisions become wiser. Your relationships become healthier because you bring greater clarity and confidence into every interaction. People begin noticing something different about you, though they may struggle to describe exactly what has changed. What they are witnessing is the quiet influence of a renewed mindset expressed through consistent behavior. There comes a moment when you stop chasing every distraction because you recognize the value of focused attention. Energy scattered in countless directions rarely produces remarkable results. Concentrated effort, however, possesses extraordinary power. Just as sunlight becomes capable of igniting fire when focused through a single lens, your abilities become dramatically more effective when directed toward one meaningful purpose instead of many conflicting desires. Purpose has an incredible way of organizing life. It simplifies decisions. It clarifies priorities. It transforms ordinary work into meaningful contribution. Even difficult tasks become easier to endure when connected to a compelling vision. People who understand why they continue rarely surrender because of temporary inconvenience. Their purpose continually renews their determination, allowing them to persevere long after initial excitement has faded. As you reach the end of these words, remember this above everything else. Your future has never been determined by chance alone. It has always been influenced by the direction of your thoughts, the quality of your decisions, and the consistency of your actions. The world may call certain people lucky, but what it often overlooks is the mindset they built long before anyone noticed the results. Every great achievement begins as an unseen belief, protected through patience, strengthened by discipline, and carried forward by unwavering persistence. The moment you choose to believe that your life can change, you have already taken the first step toward changing it. If you desire extraordinary outcomes, become an extraordinary thinker. Refuse to let temporary setbacks define your permanent identity. Refuse to let fear speak louder than possibility. Every sunrise gives you another opportunity to think differently, act differently, and move one step closer to the life you deserve. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop believing that someone else controls your destiny. The greatest power you will ever possess is the power to direct your own mind. From this moment forward, carry yourself like someone who expects good things. Speak with confidence. Walk with purpose. Make decisions that your future self will thank you for. Continue learning when others stop. Continue believing when others doubt. Continue moving when others quit. Every positive thought you choose, every disciplined action you take, and every challenge you overcome is quietly building a future far greater than you can currently imagine. And if there is one message to remember long after this speech ends, let it be this: the life you dream about is not waiting for luck to create it. It is waiting for you to become the person capable of receiving it. Stay focused. Stay grateful. Stay disciplined. Your greatest opportunities may already be moving toward you, and when preparation finally meets opportunity, what others call luck will simply become the natural result of the person you chose to become. Today is not the end of your journey. It is the day you decide that your best chapter begins now.